Alright, today's episode of Fun with Cars, working on a spare tire on a GMC Yukon. Any GM vehicle from probably 07 to 13 and maybe up. The spare tire, this car's from the south, spare tire was stuck in its place. We could not release it. The cable would move down only so far, then you could pull the cable down as you were unwinding it. It was not cable bound, but something wouldn't allow the tire to come down. And I did watch a YouTube video. I'll put a link in the description so you can see how to get the thing released, but we're wondering why wouldn't it release on its own. So if you look at this mechanism, there is a collar that this goes into, and if the cable comes down, this collar catches it. Well, it wouldn't release, and the instructions say to crank it all the way up. When you crank this all the way up, this spring mechanism hits this collar right here. This collar pushes that in, so it comes out of that hole. Maybe I'll video underneath there quick. You can. All right, so herein lies the problem. You gotta kind of get down here close. See, on this unit, this part right here, this collar, when you crank up on it, see what the mechanism does? This collar has a bunch of corrosion on it. It was stuck like this, so no matter what you did, it just released. It came up and down as we cranked it up and down, but it would not release the hook. And the way the hook is released, so I'm going to take my wire brush on a drill and I'm going to clean that collar up. I've already done this a little bit, so I'm just doing this for illustration purposes. So once this collar is cleaned up, once the rust is free on this collar and it's lubricated, you know, I have a lot of, I use automatic transmission fluid for just about everything. So now when you crank up on the cable, watch what happens when I push on that collar. That releases. Then it can fall through the hole. But because that collar was seized, which may or may not be the case on your vehicle, because this collar was seized, it didn't matter if you tried to press up here or whatnot. It had nothing to do with that collar. That collar being stuck stopped the mechanism from working properly. We're going to clean this up real good. I'm going to grease and lubricate all this, and then it should work properly. So this tab right here is what springs in and hooks right on this collar on the inside of it. This is the spare tire, goes right up to this thing. There's a rubber boot on here. Took that rubber boot down so we could spray some oil up here. But I got the answer to why these are hanging up. Now, one gentleman suggested, you know, getting rid of this safety mechanism, because the old school ones didn't have all this nonsense. It just had a cable that went up. The problem is, if the cable breaks, the spare tire falls right down, or if you cut the cable, it just falls down. This mechanism is a safety mechanism that grabs the inside of this. So, I'll show you why this hung up on this particular unit, and maybe the reason why yours is hanging up, and maybe you can free it up to get it to release, and I'll show you in a second. Alright, so here's how the cable mechanism works. So, my assistant is cranking that in. This is just a boot that goes over this, right? Put that over. I just undercoated underneath here, but I just wanted to show you guys how this works. So this cable, I'm holding tension on it like, you know, a spare tire would be on, so that the cable doesn't get bound up in here. I'm going to show you if, now the spare tire is going to be out of the way. If your spare tire is stuck and all the other, see now this is in the out position, but so that would be like this if it was. Alright, like that. So, alright, that's good. So, if yours is stuck in this position, the spare tire is here, you want to release the cable, come down with it until you see the slide. Now, watch. See, this won't come down past here. The cable is, but that won't come down. Stop. The reason was on this one that this collar right here was stuck. It was rusted out, and the weight of the tire, which releases this, wasn't working. So if you take a drift or a punch, obviously don't give yourself too much slack, because once you release this, your spare tire's coming out. You have to push right on this collar right here, and if you push on the collar, it comes out then. So what happens when this spring hits that collar and it's working properly, keep going. Alright, now when you release it, and I got pressure held on this, go ahead, release. So now that we got that collar freed up, clean, so I'm going to show you what the collar looks like clean. When the spare tire holds pressure on this, it releases that hook nice and easy, like that. Now I cleaned all that up, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. The weight of the tire is going to release that, but what happens is if the cable snaps, this thing locks in place so you don't drop your spare tire onto the highway. So that's what we got. Now we're going to crank it. We'll crank it all the way up when we're ready to go. I'm going to grease all this so that it stays free. I cleaned all in there. That way it doesn't hang up anymore, and the spare tire will release like it should. Thanks for watching. Hope this helps you. Please check out my videos and like and subscribe.